So, what do we call it when the government terrorizes its own people? Because that's what it sounded like at Quantico this morning. He stood up there and straight up said, we have to handle the so-called enemy from within. And who's that? Not some outside threat. He's talking about us.
I'm sorry. I had to stop my car because I'm having a panic attack. Donald Trump, in his speech, just declared war on America. What is happening?
Martial law is coming in hot. This morning, President Trump told a room packed with generals that America is facing a war from within. He wasn't talking about a foreign enemy. He was talking about our own cities. Trump named places like San Francisco, Chicago, New York, and LA as training grounds for U.S. troops. And here's the kicker. Troops are already on the ground in at least 5 major cities: Memphis, Chicago, Washington, D.C., Portland, and Los Angeles.
It appears that Donald Trump, not only has dementia set in, but he's copying tactics of Vladimir Putin.
The U.S. military raided an apartment complex in Chicago last night. While we were all asleep, the war on American citizens quite literally begun.
None of this is made up. It's all true. Yeah. And top officials already want him out using the 25th Amendment because he's getting out of hand. He's getting out of control. He's the worst president ever. He just declared war on the American citizens using their troops against them with the military, Kevin, and go against the people and not, respect their oaths. Oh, they will not. It has already started. There are houses that have already been invaded. You've seen in the teaser, Americans already crying and crashing out because you guys refuse to go on the streets. He's been wanting to start a civil war, and you guys refuse to give it to him. Now that you refused, he's gonna find a way of coming to you. He said blue states should be training grounds for the military, where the military will literally go and attack people. Welcome back to the channel. You guys, are you okay? You guys need a vacation, eh? You need a vacation. But my name is Gracie. Thank you for the support you give to this channel. Thank you to my members. They do me amazing. We have to look at the reactions of Americans and how upset they are and what is their solution and what are the other top officials talking about to, put this man in his place. Let's watch, come back and talk about it. Do me a favor, like the video, share it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think.
Is declaring war on the American people. Trump is calling our cities, San Francisco, Chicago, LA, enemy battlefields. He told the top generals that the U.S. should use our own cities as training grounds for the military. This is big treason. We are entering a fascist militia state right in front of our eyes. And while all this is happening, children, innocent children, are being locked up by ICE in a remote part of Texas for more than 20 days without clean water, without real food, without fucking sleep. They're being tortured with sleep deprivation, no medical care, no hygiene products, just emotional and physical fucking abuse. This is human rights abuse against kids. This is cruelty. October 18th, New King State 2.0. Nationwide protests. Stand up!
Trump wants to use majority black, brown, and working class cities as training grounds for the U.S. military, saying he wants to deal with the enemy.
They're going to say you're fear-mongering and that he never said all that.
Roll the clip.
Important mission. And I told Pete we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military. Because we're going into Chicago very soon. That's a big city with an incompetent governor, stupid. Can help quell civil disturbances. This is going to be a big thing for the people in this room because it's the enemy from within and we have to handle it before it gets out of control.
Now, the cities he has targeted with federal occupation so far have been LA, DC, and Memphis. Right now, he has his eyes on occupying Chicago, New Orleans, and Portland next. People are fighting back, but this madness continues, and they have the full backing of the war secretary, who says the military, quote, serves at the pleasure of the president every single day. They're telling you who they are. Will you finally believe them? Get organized.
So, what do we call it when the government terrorizes its own people? Because that's what it sounded like at Quantico this morning. He stood up there and straight up said, we have to handle the so-called enemy from within. And who's that? Not some outside threat. He's talking about us. Protesters, journalists, teachers. Anybody who doesn't agree. Imagine being a citizen of this country and hearing the president call you an enemy. And then he doubled down and said we're going to use American cities as training grounds for our military. Like, excuse me? My neighborhood isn't a practice zone. My street is not a war game. That's not defense, y'all. That is intimidation. And here's the part that kind of stuck with me. If you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room. But there goes your rank and there goes your future. He's giving mob boss. He doesn't want loyalty to the country. He wants loyalty to himself. And then there's that wild line that he said. There are 2 N-words and you can't use either of them. He threw nuclear war and racial slurs in the same sentence like it was supposed to be some sort of joke. That shit's not funny. It's dangerous and it tells you exactly what he values, which is nothing. But here's the scariest part. He's not hiding. He's saying it all on camera. Flags behind him, soldiers in uniform, people clapping under duress, maybe? None of this is normal. So yeah, what do we call it when the government terrorizes its own people? Because the legal definition of domestic terrorism is intimidation or violence used to push a political agenda. So tell me why this doesn't fit.
The U.S. military raided an apartment complex in Chicago last night. While we were all asleep, the war on American citizens quite literally begun. In coordination with ICE, they went in and rounded up every single person in an apartment complex. Not just one unit, an apartment complex, men, women, and children, and brought them outside. They were all zip-tied, including the children. And they were held overnight until they could prove that they had no warrants. Not even just that they were American citizens, that they did not have any criminal history or warrants. Part of me wants to say, where's the First Amendment crowd and MAGA and the well-regulated militia? They joined ICE. We did not adequately crush the South after the Civil War, and it has risen again in the form of a well-regulated militia as ICE. And once the true rednecks fully encapsulate what's happening in this situation, you know, the actual cop-hating Appalachians, the whole white-on-white and right-on-right crime situation that we see increasingly so around us is going to get worse.
Trump wants to use Democratic cities as training grounds for the military. Yes, that's not a joke. That's not a drill. That's not me gaslighting. That is what he said. He told Petey Boy we should use the most dangerous cities in America as training ground for the military. We're already going into Chicago. We're going to go into New York. We're going to go into San Fran. When the fuck did the military turn on its own people? And these dangerous cities are heavily populated with African Americans, black folks, and San Fran is LGBTQIA plus loving. He's trying to get ahead of the election, y'all. The 2026 election, he's trying to get ahead of the midterms. And he wants to put these cities on lockdown. I know there are a lot of military men that don't give a shit about the oath. I know that. Let's not play this game. Some of them did vote for him. And they will do what he says out of racism, out of hate, out of xenophobia, out of homophobia. They will do what he says. But for the ones that didn't vote for this man, for the ones that took the oath for the United States of America and not a sitting president, please, and I do mean please, don't forget that. Your duty is to your country and not towards a man that's going to be gone. He's in his 80s. And targeting heavily populated African American black cities has always been his plan. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I do know as people who took an oath to protect this country, this is not what y'all doing. This ain't it.
This is wildly serious. Like, I can't stress the importance of this. I'm going to read this straight from CNN Politics, but it's just words straight from Pete Hegseth's mouth. It says, Hegseth called for troops to ignore stupid rules of engagement. Rules of engagement are directives governing how and when force can be used by the U.S. military. And this is a quote from Pete Hegseth. He said, "We unleash overwhelming and punishing violence on the enemy," Hegseth said. "We also don't fight with stupid rules of engagement. We untie the hands of our warfighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country. No more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement." This is coming from a Fox News host that's talking like he's been through 18 battles his entire lifetime. Like, what they're talking about, dude? "We unleash overwhelming and punishing violence on the enemy." And his boss said the left is the threat from within. They attack woke ideology, leftist ideology, democratic ideology, and then they're telling soldiers to ignore stupid rules of engagement that govern how and when force can be used by the U.S. military. This is bad. He's not talking about wars overseas or like that. He's talking about you. He's talking about American citizens. They want to radicalize the fucking government. He said at the beginning of this, he said, give me a second. "The sooner we have the right people, the sooner we can advance the right policies. Right people advance the right policies. Right people advance the right policies. Right people enforce the right policies." It's just a word swap out. It means the same thing in this context. The sooner we have the right people, the sooner we can enforce the right policies, while they define what right and wrong is, and what merit is, and what's American and non-American, and what's patriotic and not patriotic, and what the fucking family should value, and everything like that. They're setting the rules and then giving you this, we're only hiring people that would follow the rules. Do you want us to hire a rule breaker? The gaslighting is so fucking infuriating. And the saddest part of it all is I don't know if the soldiers are going to honor their oath or bend the fucking knee. They literally said in this bull fucking radicalization meeting they had with the military today, or yesterday, I guess technically, but they said, if what I'm saying makes your heart sing, then do the honorable thing and resign. That's a long way of saying if you don't like it, quit, because we'll fire you anyway. They're planning to send troops on American citizens that don't fall in line with Trump's orders. They just won't come out and say it because they know what that'll spark. Can we wake up? Like, this is fucking treason. It's straight up treason, bro.
So are people gonna wake the fuck, or no? We're just gonna act like this is all normal? This is just another day in America. Donald Trump is no different than any other president. Is that what we're gonna do? He literally just summoned generals, the top leaders of the military, generals, admirals, all the top guys, summoned them, told them to leave their posts and come to Virginia so that he could talk to them. He and his Secretary of War, a fucking drunken Fox News host. And in his little fucking speech to the generals, this demented old buffoon, Donald Trump, literally told the leaders of the military that he wants them to use American cities as training grounds for the military. And he told them that our war is in the American cities. He just told military leadership that he is at war with the American people. We're going to do anything about that? We're going to even talk about that, or no? We're just going to, hey, you see, what's on Netflix? Is that what we're going to do? Oh, let's scroll through some more fucking dance videos on TikTok. Is that what we're going to do? Yeah. You know what? That is probably what we're going to do. Until it's too late to do anything about it, right?
Breaking news, martial law is coming in hot. This morning, President Trump told a room packed with generals that America is facing a war from within. He wasn't talking about a foreign enemy. He was talking about our own cities. Trump named places like San Francisco, Chicago, New York, and LA as training grounds for U.S. troops. And here's the kicker. Troops are already on the ground in at least 5 major cities: Memphis, Chicago, Washington, D.C., Portland, and Los Angeles. The president said we're under invasion from within. No different than fighting a foreign war, except this enemy doesn't wear uniform. His defense secretary backed him up, calling for looser rules of engagement and untying the hands of soldiers here at home. Critics say this crosses into dangerous territory that blurs the line between military and law enforcement and risks putting American troops directly against American citizens. One thing is certain: the United States military is no longer just preparing for war overseas. It's being positioned for war on U.S. soil. I've been trying to prepare you for this since 2023. I told you it was coming. I will get some new videos together as soon as possible. Stay sharp, stay aware, because what comes next may change everything. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and be sure you follow for more.
They are so mad that we're not protesting the way they want us to. Clearly, they want to go to war with the American cities. That's what they're saying. They made it the War Department, and they're like, we're going to war with Portland. We're going to war with Chicago, LA, New York. And they are struggling to justify it. Right now, they're sending the military to Portland based on videos and pictures that were taken on one block on one day 5 years ago. They have nothing. I think they were hoping that cracking down on DEI would make people upset enough to have protests. They didn't even need big protests, just protests enough that they could get photos and videos to make people look violent. And they're just not getting what they need. They're designating Antifa a terrorist organization, and they really just want Antifa-looking people to march so that they can have something scary to rally against. And yes, we need to push back against the military coming into our cities for no reason. For one, it's just super expensive. That's a huge taxpayer expense for nothing. They're sending the military into places that there is no conflict. They have nothing to do. But eventually we do need to push back because you can't just casually let them militarize everything. But we need to make sure that we never give them the pictures and videos that they want. We never give them that. They want something that looks like a military battle to happen in the cities so that they can just use those pictures and videos to justify what they're doing. They want to convince people who are already too scared to go into the city that it is a war zone. We cannot give them that. So for the next 3 years, if there is a protest, if there is a conflict, if there is a pushback against military control where there shouldn't be military control, it cannot look militarized. They're going to arrest protesters, and they want the protesters that they arrest to look scary. We need to wear t-shirts that say things like, cool dad. If they're going to arrest us, we need to be carrying American flags. That's why the No Kings protest worked so well. We dressed up like the 4th of July. They don't care about what the conflict actually looks like. They don't care about what the protest actually is. They just want photos and videos. That's it. That is their entire goal. They want photos and videos that they can use to grab more power. That is all. So if there is a conflict, we need to make sure that it looks like a 4th of July block party. We should have food and music and dancing and art. We need to make it so that when they pay people to come and pretend to be Antifa so that they can arrest them to get the pictures and videos they want, they look so out of place that it is obvious that they are not part of this protest. Because we're clearly not giving them the conflict that they want. And so eventually they will resort to just creating that conflict. It needs to be abundantly clear that if you wear all black, black mask, black helmet, you're not welcome as part of the protest. That if this is how you show up, then you actually support the military occupation of our cities. If this is how you show up, you are the greatest propaganda tool for the current administration.
To provide training for a quick reaction force that can help quell civil disturbances. And this is going to be a big thing for the people in this room because it's the enemy from within.
That was Donald Trump today in front of 800 military leaders, silent. That silence is important. I'll get to that later. Telling them that they're going to have to attack American civilians on American soil, calling those civilians the enemy from within. You know, I'm the enemy from within. If you're watching this, you're probably the enemy from within too. What Donald Trump asked those military leaders to do is shred the Constitution, violate their oath to honor the Constitution. No wonder they weren't clapping. Pete Hegseth also spoke at this meeting. What did he want?
We also don't fight with stupid rules of engagement. We untie the hands of our warfighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country. No more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement.
Those stupid rules of engagement, they have a name. They're called the Geneva Conventions. We've signed on to them again and again and again. Why? Because we've committed ourselves to not committing war crimes. No wonder the military sat silent. What is Trump demanding of his military? Let's be honest, war on the streets. He calls it war, war on our own. He wants to use it to stifle dissent, to stifle me, probably you too. What is Hegseth demanding? Clean shaven, mostly for racial, talk to black men about beards, and religious, talk to non-Christian men about beards. Reasons to be trained like pit bulls with arms to commit war crimes. Do you want that? I didn't think so. What Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth promoted to its military today was a military state that stifles dissent through its military and abroad is reviled by the rest of the world for its barbarism. There are two things standing in the way of Trump and Hegseth's dictator dreams. One is the military that they addressed today. Will they violate their oath? Their silence today gives me a little bit of hope that they won't. And two, us, will we stand in the way through mass demonstrations? There's going to be one October 18th, through mass strikes if necessary, through mass civil disobedience if necessary. That's how other countries beat back dictatorships. We have an emerging dictatorship. Are we ready? I am. I hope you are too.
No more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement. Just common sense, maximum lethality, and authority for warfighters. That's all I ever wanted as a platoon leader.
No more rules of engagement. The Geneva Convention is being tossed out the window. Geneva Convention was instituted right after the Second World War to stop war crimes. This man says it's tying our hands. We need to toss that shit out. Okay.
Trump is so desperate to use the U.S. military domestically. Because listen, today when he gave that speech to those military commanders, he said a few key things that he said before, but imagine an audience. So he tells them that they are responsible for fighting enemies, both foreign and domestic. And he emphasized domestic, and that led to him talking about the cities in America that are at war. The war is in American cities, and he named all his favorite blue cities, right? Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, Portland. And I'm sure if he could have thought of more, he would have mentioned more. Now, I've always said that one of his greatest regrets from his first term was that he did not get to use the military like a toy like he wants to do. And I don't mean drones. I mean he wants to use aircraft carriers, bombers, submarines, bombing runs, boots on the ground, tanks, the whole deal. That's what he wants. And he didn't get that. And so now he has the generals listening to him tell him that they're responsible for fighting the enemy within. The enemy within is in these blue cities. And I said on the video earlier today, if you have family members that are in the military, it is about time to start checking on them and see who they are whose orders they're going to follow, his, or honor their oath to the Constitution. And maybe one of their commanders who tell them you're not going to attack American citizens. But he said that to them. And now when you think about, he's not happy that ICE hasn't taken out as many people as he wanted. Because remember, he and his ear whisperer, worm tongue, Stephen Miller, they want millions out. Trump used to say he wanted 10 or 15 million out, and now he's talking 30 million. And he doesn't believe ICE is doing the job fast enough, and importantly, equally importantly, he doesn't believe they're doing the job brutally enough. And so now he thinks, you know what? I'm gonna use the military because they got more equipment, there's more of them, they're better trained, and they would do what I tell them because, like he and Keg's breath said today, if you don't like what we're saying, walk out the room. And you'll be fired, and you lose your rank, your history, everything. And they all sat there. And in Trump's mind, that means they agree with what he says, and they're going to do what he tells them to do. And I believe ahead of the midterms, so sometime between now and 2026 midterms, blue cities, the ones he listed, and others, he's going to send much more military troops into the cities to disrupt voting and to give him the boots on the ground war that he has been longing to do since even before his first time. So the draft dodger wants to attack America. So let me know what you think. Hit me up in the comments and let's talk about it.
Donald Trump revealed today, speaking to generals, that he signed an executive order for a quick reaction force to send the military into American cities. Trump said that there's an enemy within, referring to other Americans, and then said he wants to use our cities as a kind of proving ground to give the U.S. military practice so that when they go abroad, they've already got experience, shooting Americans? Watch this.
Last month, I signed an executive order to provide training for a quick reaction force that can help quell civil disturbances. This is going to be a big thing for the people in this room because it's the enemy from within, and we have to handle it before it gets out of control.
Next clip shows Trump talking about using our cities as a training ground for the U.S. military.
Very important mission, and I told Pete we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military, because we're going into Chicago very soon. That's a big city with an incompetent governor, stupid. They threw him out of his family business. He was so stupid. I know the family.
Next, Trump says he's going to use the generals to declare war on democratic cities.
The ones that are run by the radical left Democrats, what they've done to San Francisco, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, they're very unsafe places, and we're going to straighten them out one by one. And this is going to be a major part for some of the people in this room. That's a war, too. It's a war from within.
One thing we've learned with Donald Trump is that when he makes fascist threats, take him at his word. He's talking about declaring war on American cities. He's talking about using the people in this room, the generals and the admirals, to do it. And he's talking about using American cities as a kind of training ground for our troops to become more lethal. Take him at his word.
Donald Trump just declared war on American citizens. The President of the United States just declared war on American citizens. What do we...
And I told Pete we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military.
What the f***? I can't believe what I just saw. Donald Trump telling America's generals that he wants to use America's cities as training grounds, calling millions of Americans the enemy within. Let that sink in. As I said months ago, Los Angeles was just the beginning. It would move on to other cities, and they did. DC, Chicago, Portland. Temporary deployments today means permanent troops tomorrow. So let's be crystal clear. Donald Trump's threat to use the military in our cities is not about public safety. It's about power. It's about control. We need to put aside our differences that divide us and stand united as one front against somebody who thinks that they're a king above everybody else in this country. Drop a like, share this video, and make sure that other people know what's going on.
Y'all, did y'all see Stephen Miller say that he's going to actually declare a federal surge in Memphis? Yes, he said that he's going to he said we're sending real cops with guns shoulder to shoulder with ATF, DEA, ICE, and the CIA. He said the Department of War will also be sent out there to Memphis, y'all. And this isn't a public safety issue. This is martial law. Martial law. This is what the fuck this is. They're declaring martial law in Memphis. How are you going to send the DEA, ATF, ICE, and the Department of War, the Department of Defense, originally, the fucking military to Memphis? There is some crazy there's a war on citizens, y'all. Literally, a war on citizens. People need to fucking prepare. After all of these lynches we found out that have been happening in fucking Memphis, you guys are going to send the military out for who are the thugs?
It appears that Donald Trump, not only has dementia set in, but he's copying tactics of Vladimir Putin, sending troops into cities, thinking that that's some sort of proving ground for war, or that indeed there's some sort of internal war going on in the United States, is just, frankly, inane. And I'm concerned for his health. The idea that you're going to go suggest that you're going to arrest people, or that people don't deserve to be U.S. citizens when they are, just because they oppose the president of the United States. I mean, there is something genuinely wrong with this man, and the 25th Amendment ought to be invoked.
They're not targeting violent criminals or gang members. They're arresting tamale vendors and delivery men and shaking down families. Donald Trump and Kristi Noem and Tom Homan said they were targeting the worst of the worst criminals. They lied, and they continue to lie. 60% of the individuals that ICE has taken in Illinois this year have no criminal convictions of any kind. ICE is running around the loop harassing people for not being white. Just a year ago, that was illegal in the United States. Now, ICE is making it commonplace. In any other country, if federal agents fired upon journalists and protesters when unprovoked, what would we call it? If federal agents marched down busy streets, harassing civilians and demanding their papers, what would we say? I don't think we'd have any trouble calling it what it is: authoritarianism. So let's not pretend it's something else when it happens in our American cities.
Is it safe to say that if all countries and presidents followed Trump's lead all around the globe, these countries are going to be war zones? Because let me tell you, criminals are everywhere. In each country has a crime problem. But I've never heard any president invoke the military to go and fight against criminals. Should we say that is a weakness, that law enforcement cannot deal with crime? Now you are literally disrespecting the military. People that have been forged by fire, by winters, by heat, by bullets, by poison too. That is very disrespectful to the United States military. Your enemies are looking and they're laughing. They're like, America. You know that scripture that says, oh, how you've fallen? Yeah, referring to the devil. I feel like that is how the enemies of America look at you guys. They're like, oh, how you've fallen. You great nation. You who used to make other nations bow. You who subdued nations. You who took people out in cold blood. You who said something and nobody had to respond. Your say used to be final. Now you want your military to go and deal with these minor criminal little things and be ICE agents? I am embarrassed on your behalf, Americans. I get it. I get it. He's screwed up to the last core. But hey, what do we expect from someone who dodged, getting drafted? He doesn't know anything about war. So to him, war is crime. That's all he knows. These people have had to put their lives on the line, and you think these generals are going to let their people come over here and mess with little fish? Little tiny fish? And then above all, turn them against their own people? I told you he wanted a civil war. That's why a lot of people think Charlie's death was staged to cause a civil war. That's why when it happened, he threatened them palm-colored people, nationalists, came out and started silencing everybody. Waged war on HBCUs. Now they're waging war on Christian churches, black churches. Anybody that says anything, you have to be silenced. If you are counteractive, you're going to be fired. You will lose your job. And even with all of this, you guys are not riled to go on the streets and be like, no, where it is going to require some massive force, the maximum pain that he said he wants to put on all Americans. To be specific, blue states. And blue states are majority black, brown people, a few palm-colored people, right? Because it is the black people that did not vote him the most. Majority of other people voted for him. So these states, these are the enemies within. Should we say he is trying to wage a war against black people and he wants to take them out? It's a possibility. Because when Kirk died, they said it's black people that did it. Before the real person came out, they were like, it's black people. Yeah? So should we say that's all he's trying to do? Getting the military to wipe out black people? I don't know, I don't know. But the fact that you guys are not as outraged as he wanted, because he's been rage baiting you over and over and over and over again, and you refuse to step out, he's like, let me come for you. Let the martial law begin. This is embarrassing. And this is sad. And those people, the service people that will go ahead and listen to him, those are some of the people that have, I'm not going to even disrespect service people because they don't deserve that, right? But of course you have those that have low self-esteem that will go ahead and go and listen to him, just like you see the houses that are attacked, people gotten out, kids zip-tied, all of this, yeah? There will be those that will listen. But the real people that know the oath they took, they will tell you and remind you that we are not different from you. We are you Americans. Yeah? And we are not going to go against you. We will always go against our enemies. And you are not our enemies. What do you all think? Let me know what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel. From me for today, I think that's it. I do love all of you. Stay safe. Stay safe. You, my black people, stay safe out there. My prayers for you. I'll see you guys later.